WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Indianapolis Shakespeare Company, presenting Riverside, a play by M.L. Roberts, July 18th to the 27th at Taggart Memorial Amphitheater. More at indyshakes.com.
WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.
This is WFYI News Now. It's July 16th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, an update on 988, the crisis hotline, 2 years after its national rollout. What Marian University plans to do with $29 million. And the Lafayette Symphony Orchestra completed its international search for a new conductor. We've got a conversation with Kellen Gray, who will take the stage as the symphony's first Black leader.
I really believe that music has a role in everybody's life.
Those stories coming up, but first, the U.S. Department of Labor says an Indianapolis business owner continues to violate labor practices despite a 2022 federal court judgment. As Indiana Public Broadcasting's Tamoria Cunningham reports, the Labor Department wants a judge to hold the employer in contempt.
Tim Paul owns 8 healthcare service companies in the Indianapolis area. In 2022, a federal court judgment required him to give his employees overtime pay. Now, the Labor Department accuses him of continued overtime violations. The department's complaint alleges Paul manipulated pay rates of employees who worked over 40 hours in a work week to avoid overtime obligations. More than 700 employees may have been shortchanged since 2020, according to Labor Department estimates. The department also asked the court to require Paul to hire and pay for an outside accountant to calculate back wages. A representative from the company refused to comment. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Tamoria Cunningham.
There's a short number people can call if they have a mental health crisis. The number is 988. The crisis hotline celebrates the 2-year anniversary of its nationwide rollout this week. In Indiana, some 61,000 people have contacted the service since last July. Side Effects Public Media's Ben Thorpe has more.
The 988 Suicide and Crisis Prevention Hotline was launched in 2022. Some 10 million Americans have contacted the line to get individuals experiencing suicidal thoughts or a mental health crisis in contact with a trained professional. But according to national polling, just about a quarter of people are familiar with the services 988 provides. Chuck Ingolia is the president and CEO of the National Council for Mental Well-Being. He says that's because states have been slowly building the capacity of call centers to handle an increased call volume.
States and the federal government were really reluctant to do too much promotion right until we had that capacity in place.
This summer, the federal government is expected to do a national campaign to promote 988. Ben Thorpe, Side Effects Public Media.
If you or someone you know is in crisis, please call, text, or chat with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 or contact the crisis text line by texting TALK to 741741. Marian University recently received $29 million from the Tom and Julie Wood Family Foundation. Side Effects Public Media's Elizabeth Gabriel reports the financial gift will provide more scholarships and academic opportunities for students.
The funds will go to the College of Osteopathic Medicine and the Michael A. Evans Center for Health Sciences. It will establish endowed scholarships for primary care physicians who want to practice in Indiana. It will also pay for facility improvements and add new clinical rotation sites for students. Amanda Wright is the Dean of the College of Osteopathic Medicine. She hopes it will help better serve the community.
It allows us to elevate everything we're doing here, really put money and resources behind excellent education for our students.
This year, just under half of the graduating class matched with residencies in Indiana, and most of them work in known physician shortage areas. Elizabeth Gabriel, Side Effects Public Media.
And for our final story today, After a 2-year search, the Lafayette Symphony Orchestra has selected a new conductor and artistic director. Kellen Gray has a background as a conductor, violinist, and beekeeper. He will become the orchestra's first African-American conductor and the second Black artistic leader of a professional orchestra in Indiana. I sat down with Gray to bring you this conversation. So can you tell me a little bit about your musical background and how you believe it will assist you in your new role as the conductor of the Lafayette Symphony Orchestra?
My musical background, I guess, begins even farther back than I can remember. Music was just all around all the time, whether it was, rummaging through my parents' records to being in church on Sundays and after church and hearing gospel and old-fashioned call and response, to hearing rock and roll. Like, I could literally go through a single day and hear just about every genre, particularly American genre of music that you can think of. As a conductor and an artist that gets to curate programs now, I hope that sort of reflects in what I do and what I present, and that I try to find music that is varied and touches people from all walks of life, but still has this sort of aesthetic connection between each other to be cohesive in the concert hall.
You are the first African-American conductor of the LSO. What excited you the most about procuring this role?
Well, what excited me the most was just working with the musicians of the Lafayette Symphony and getting more into the community. You never really know or can predict the level of chemistry that'll be between a conductor and a group of musicians until you're actually there and making music together. And I felt like right from the very minute that we spent together in Lafayette for my trial week, that we were making music and communicating right away. As far as me being the first African diasporic conductor of the Lafayette Symphony and only second in the state of Indiana, it's nothing new for me, frankly. If you are Black and in classical music, you probably are the only one, or if not the first one. I've been the only Black conductor or first Black conductor on staff at every orchestra I've been with, whether it be the Valdosta Symphony of Georgia, the Royal Scottish National Orchestra, even in a 125-year-old orchestra, I was still the first Black conductor on staff. But I do take on the responsibility and understand the role of representation, and that I didn't see any conductors or classical musicians when I was a kid. And it's hard to be what you can't see. So I understand that there are people that see me who I need to be an example for, and I will open doors for because those doors were open to me.
Okay, so how did you go from a beekeeper to a conductor?
Before I became a conductor, I was a professional violinist in an orchestra, and I just got burned out, frankly. And during that time, I began working at Savannah Bee Company. Somewhere along the line, I began playing gigs as a freelancer in regional orchestras around South Carolina, Georgia, and other parts of the South. And it sort of just hit me one day when I was in a rehearsal that conductors and beekeepers sort of do the same thing. A hive of bees is a superorganism in which every worker bee, all the female bees, have a job, or they rotate jobs throughout the time of their life. And with musicians, we all, despite what instrument we play, we rotate roles throughout the life of a composition. And it's really the conductor's job to sort of just make the life of all of the hive easier. So you're really there to help facilitate things that could be done without you, but to create some ease.
And what are some things you hope to accomplish during your tenure?
What I really hope is to continue expanding the orbit and the circumference around the Lafayette Symphony. The symphony serves 14 counties of central Indiana, and I would love to see more people from those outer reaches, from those cities that aren't Lafayette, to be in the concert hall with us, and for us to find ways to get out to them. I really believe that music has a role in everybody's life, but I think there are ways in which an orchestra can really reach people where they are. We can find music that's already familiar to them, hand them it, and bring them in contact with music that they're not familiar with, and touch them in a way that doesn't often happen. So I'm mostly and most broadly just looking forward to bringing people together, both in the concert hall at the Long Center and outside.
Well, thank you so much, Kellen, for speaking with me today, and congratulations on your new position.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.
WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.